Well, hello, team. BK Barreco here. Welcome to this Thursday nutrition knowledge. I don't know what we're going to call this, but I'm very excited for what you're going to experience here today. I got a chance at the end of January to fly out to Orlando, and of all the speakers that I heard, Dr. Jackie Fleury was one of my all-time favorites. But thank you for being here today.
It's fun. It's fun to be here, BK. I'm looking forward to it.
Before we get started, why don't you just kind of I know you're an author. I'm super excited about your book. We need to give your book a big plug on this. Tell us a little bit about your background. Introduce yourself to the team.
Well, I've been in clinical practice for 25 years, so my professional designation is a naturopathic doctor. And my passion is in women's health. So I've treated kids and men as well, but my passion has always been women's health. So for the last 25 years, I like to say that I just help women feel more like themselves. So I use nutrition and homeopathy and Chinese medicine and all sorts of different tools that help women sort of find their balance. And in the process of being in clinical practice, I have written a couple of books. So I started to notice patterns of results and successes over time that I felt it was important to get the word out beyond the doors of my clinical practice. So I've written a book on the gut-brain connection. And my second book is a book on menopause and perimenopause because that's been the heart of my practice for as long as I have been a doctor. So beyond that, I do product development. So because I have a special interest in the gut-brain connection, I have done product development. So I've brought a product to the Canadian market. And so I know about working with regulators and Health Canada. So definitely have had my feet in that water for a few years. And that's kind of brought me to where I am at now.
Well, I love that. How can people get a hold of your books?
Well, Amazon for sure,
Okay.
Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. So, or Amazon.com for you in the US. And it's called Master Your Moods for menopause and perimenopause.
I love that. Thank you very much for that. And team, go out and get those. I know you're going to be impressed. And when I was listening to you in Orlando, I loved the story that you told about testing, doing the balance test on your patients. Why don't you kind of start the conversation off with a little bit about your thoughts on the importance of omega-3s and what you discovered as you experienced this balance test?
As a naturopathic doctor, part of the work that I do with my clients is to make recommendations around supplementation and in particular making sure that all the foundation is covered. So for as long as I've been a doctor and even prior to that in school, we were trained in the understanding of what an essential nutrient is to the body. So we have essential amino acids and then we have essential fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids have been part of my formulary for as long as I've been in practice. And right about the time that I was finishing up my second book, I was writing a chapter on supplementation as it was relevant to women in midlife. So I was asking the question, is there anything that we need to know going forward for women in their midlife and beyond that we need to adjust in terms of dosing, potency, whether or not the percentages of the omegas needed to change? So I had all these questions. And I started reaching out and looking for answers, and nobody could really help me answer those questions. So coincidentally, I was introduced to somebody that was the omega expert in the world, which we all know is Stuart Tomk. And I happened to be driving, picked up the phone, called a friend, and I said, "Hey, I'm just driving. I just need somebody to keep me company for a bit." And she said, "I need to introduce you to somebody." So there are no coincidences in if you believe in the universe and a higher power. I believe that I was put on that call for a reason. And I ended up being able to ask every single question that I ever had about omega fatty acids. Stuart answered every one of those questions for me and then some. So what it did is it opened up basically a whole world of knowledge and a deepening of my understanding of essential fatty acids, which as a practitioner at my stage of the game, I kind of thought I knew it all. and I thought that I had all my bases covered. So when Stuart talked to me a little bit about the importance of fatty acid testing, it wasn't new to me. It just was something that I didn't put any real emphasis on because my understanding was everybody needs an omega-3 fatty acid, so just go ahead and put them on the highest quality professional grade supplement at recommended doses and call it a day. So when he explained to me this opportunity to test, and then he also explained to me that there was a different way to deliver omega-3 fatty acids that seemed to address a lot of the concerns I had seen clinically for many years, which was people burping fish oils going rancid or oxidizing in the bottle once the bottle was opened. Like there were all these observations I had over the years that I felt like it was kind of the best of the best. Like we had done everything I could do to make sure my patients were getting the highest quality product. And some were feeling a difference, some weren't. But again, there's too many variables to try and determine what's doing what. So when he explained to me, hey, there's a way that we can test, and guess what? We have a better way to correct an imbalance if it exists. I was like, oh my gosh, like, where did you come from and how can I get my hands on this? So I immediately tested my family. I got my hands on the product that he was referring to, and I just started like implementing. And I was pretty darn certain that my practice was going to be that sort of like outlier in terms of what was being seen on the world platform, in that everybody was taking omegas. And so I was pretty cocky. I thought, I'm pretty sure, I said to Stuart, my patients are going to pass. And he said, well, that might be so, but just, test them. That's the only way to know. So by the time I hit my first 100 clients, I had reproduced the world statistics in my own clinic. 95% of my patients were not passing the test. They were out of balance, which meant they weren't absorbing, which meant a whole bunch of other things that I was doing with them likely was not as effective as it could be. So it was a huge eye opener for me, but it was also this huge like burst of like excitement, because all of a sudden I was able to circle back to years of clients and be able to say to them, guess what I just learned? I learned that there's a better way to do something. And are you interested in giving this a go with me? And I have 100% buy-in from my clients, because they have the same question that a lot of people have in their minds, which is, I'm wondering if what I'm doing is working. So when I offer them the opportunity to do an objective test, they're all over that, because they want to know. Everybody has that question. How do I know if what I'm taking is working?
You know what I think is amazing about you is hear somebody with 25 years experience and the credentials. You still are humble enough to say, guess what I just learned, when you're talking to your patients. But have you ever had a patient come to you and say, well, now that I've taken the test and I see that I'm out of balance, I'm going to get myself in balance with my diet. Have you ever seen any success with that kind of an attitude?
Nobody's really not wanted to correct the imbalance in the way that they have the opportunity to do, because they all I do say to them, kind of like half jokingly, I'll say, so you can either take 2 teaspoons of this oil, or you can eat 3 pounds of sardines a day. So which do you want to do? And they're not all that eager to eat the sardines. So then I'll say, okay, well then how about this oil? Because initially people will kind of wrinkle their nose at the idea of a fish oil, because they do not have a positive association with fish oils, because historically they're kind of smelly. They kind of leave a taste in your mouth. And anybody that is older than me will recall being raised on cod liver oil. And so they have a really negative association to what cod liver oil did to them. But they just took it because they knew it was good for them. So it's fun. Like it's fun to be able to take something that is basically, I'll explain to them that it's like the missing food on your plate, because if you were to correct this from your nutrition, or if this would have been pre 1940s, 1950s, you probably would have been okay with everything that was on your plate. But now we're not so much okay, because even if you were eating farm to fork and you lived at a coastally where you had access to fish, again, you just have to eat so much of it. And we know that what the Scandinavian countries are showing in terms of their results, that even when they have access to the ocean, they're still not 100% correcting it with their nutrition.
I love it. Well, I'm kind of a marketer, and so I'm curious when you said that you had your patients and you were confident about the how you thought the test was going to be coming out. Do you mind if I ask which omega-3 you had them on?
Well, they were on various omegas. So I had a private label, so I was using a professional grade supplement. They would buy it at Costco. They would buy it, and I would read the labels and on them and say, to be honest, I think, the EPA, DHA, the ratios are all about the same. They're all third party tested. Like, it doesn't really matter, because from an industry standard, all of the fish oils on the market need to pass certain criteria. Like if they had decided that they were going to use their Costco supplements or whatever, like, who am I to say? I would say, well, I've got this professional line, but if you want to keep using what you're using. So, but the majority of my patients were on my recommendation. So they were taking as high a quality as I felt they could get. Because you get what you pay for, right? So they were paying a lot of money for these supplements. But ironically, I was missing the boat.
As you go through Costco and you go into the nutrition section, you see the biggest kiosk, the biggest section of it is fish oil. All different kinds, all different kind of brands. So obviously it's very popular. What percentage of your patients did you want taking omega-3s?
Oh, 100%.
Wow. And why do you think the other fish oils out there, the other omega-3 products out there, aren't getting the job done? Did that phone conversation you had in the car, did that give you any kind of insight?
Well, that's when I learned about the manufacturing processes. And like I said, I was always aware of the third-party testing to remove the heavy metals and to purify it and to put it into a form that was allegedly better absorbed. But what I didn't understand was the stripping of the polyphenols from the oils in the process of the manufacturing. And so the way I explain it to my clients is in very much the same way that we would have historically drank whole milk that was right from the cow. Then as soon as it became a product that needed to be pasteurized or homogenized, it changes it from a whole food thing to something that has now been modified, and it's hard for our guts to digest and process that because a lot of the enzymes have been removed. It's basically been denatured. So essentially that's what happens with the omega-3s.
Let's talk a little bit about the balance test, because I have to tell you, I've been in the nutrition space for 25 years, and it's rare to see a company do a test, not guess kind of a philosophy. You talk about this balance test, and it comes with this 20-page comprehensive report. It gives you your omega-3 index. It gives you your mental strength. It gives you your inflammatory levels. It gives you cell membrane fluidity. It gives you your protection value. Give us your thoughts on, do you see the value of, this is $180 at retail. Do you see the value, and are you impressed with how what this test will share with people?
Well, the test isn't new. So that's the first thing, is that the idea of doing an omega fatty acid test wasn't new to me. There are companies in the US, for example, that I used to resource sporadically. And you can also do a serum blood draw and look at the omega-3 fatty acid status. So I think it's important to note that the test isn't unique to Zinzino. But the dry blood spot test is valuable because it gives you more than just a snapshot of what's going on within your blood cells. And so it has the opportunity to tell you over a 3 or 4 month period what is actually going on within the cell membrane. So that's what makes this blood spot test so valuable. And so I explain this all the time, that this isn't a supplement company making a test that then confirms that their products work. This is a third-party independent lab doing a test for a company that has discovered a really big problem in the world. And then they've gone on to find a solution. So that's kind of how I explain it to my patients, in that you can get this information in different ways, but nobody has done it the way Zinzino has done it, by providing a baseline test that can be administered at home without being in a doctor's office. So first of all, that's really valuable because not everybody has a doctor that knows about these things. And secondly, we have a really simple strategy that we can use that's what I almost like to consider a functional food, and then we get to retest at no cost. So plus, if you're in balance, then you get your money back to start off with. So
that is something that's super unique, is the fact that I have never heard of going to the doctor's office, having tests done, and if you come out looking good, they'll give you your money back.
exactly. And of the 5 people that, because remember, I've tested over 300 people now. So in that first 100, when I say there were a handful, like 4 or 5 of my clients that actually were in balance, I offered them their money back. Like I said, we can always call customer service and cancel your order. And they're like, no, I love this product. I want to keep doing this. So even though they were already doing a lot of the right things, they understood the value of continuing on with the product, because I said to them, you're doing a lot of the right things, but let's add some insurance here by adding in the product. So there just isn't anything like this. And I've been at this a long time. So that's really what caught my attention. And that's how I explain it to anybody that wants to listen, is that, like, there are other ways to do this, but nobody does it better than this. And nobody else has a product like this that to this point has this type of a formulation. So, and believe me, I've scratched my head on this when I kept saying to Stuart, how has nobody else come up with this? Like, why does this not exist? Like, it just, to me, is such a no-brainer. But
Let's talk a little bit about that, because you talked about the other omega-3s out there being denatured. This product, I believe it's 60% fish oil, 40% olive oil, and vitamin D3 and vitamin E. Talk a little bit about the formulation and why this combination is so important.
well, it's the polyphenols that are derived from that pre-harvest olive. So they're just little wee olives, and they extract the oil out of them. They're pre-harvest, which means you couldn't eat them like you would a normal olive. And they're loaded with these polyphenols, which act like little chaperones, and they surround the omega-3 molecule, and they help that molecule be escorted across the cell membrane. So that's really that's the magic in the formula. And then one of those polyphenols is hydroxytyrosol, which, if you just Google that one on your own time, I think that it's really impressive in terms of the health benefits of that hydroxytyrosol. So I guess what I love about it, I know one of the questions you said to me is, if you could only make a couple of recommendations, what would those be? And this is coming from a person who's developed and brought her own gut health product to the market. But I will say to my clients now, and I have a dispensary full of products, I will say this is where you need to start. So this is the foundation. And once you correct the cell membrane, then everything works that much better. So whether I'm working with women around hormone health, or whether it's gut health, or whether it's skin health or hair health, it doesn't matter. We're just a bundle of cells walking around. So if we don't correct the cell membrane, then a lot of other things aren't going to work as well. And then everything else comes after that.
I once heard that your body is only as healthy as your cell membranes.
Mhm.
And that's what I feel that has such synergy with any nutritional products, is they're going to work better when your cell is more permeable. Let's talk about, I've got 6 kids, 6 teenagers, if you can believe that. So we're gonna have a moment for prayer for me.
Yes, we are.
But but tell me, who's the great prospect for this balance oil?
Well, I would say I mean, when I used to do a lot more pediatric health, I definitely would make sure that even if there was a mom that was breastfeeding, I would make sure that she was on good quality oils, because then that transfers through the breast milk. And then as soon as a child is on solids, then that's always a good opportunity to add a little bit of omegas into their food, because again, they're not eating sardines. Kids are the worst. And as you know, you've got teenagers, so try and get them to eat fish. They're not going to eat fish. And so, yeah, some of the worst results I've seen so far have been in 11, 12-year olds. Like
Oh, testing them?
yeah, very staggering imbalances.
Like what are some of the numbers you've seen?
75 to 1.
And you're supposed to be 3 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's the omega sixes. It's the processed foods. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
In your talk that I heard in Orlando, you talked about obviously talking with other naturopaths, but also chiropractors and optometrists. I thought that was really cool that you were branching out into those other areas of health. What have you been able to share with them about what you've learned, and what's been some of the feedback that you've heard from them?
Well, I would say that it's probably the most important demographic to reach out to, like from my perspective, because I consider myself a very educated practitioner who does all the continuing education. I feel like I'm well researched and I keep up to date. And somehow I didn't know this information. So if I didn't know this information, then there's a lot of other healthcare providers that also don't know this information. And if for no other reason other than as a like professional courtesy to the other professions, I at least want them to know. I just want them to know, because either they're going to recommend it, they're going to see the value of this and they're going to recommend it, or their patients are going to come to them because they will have heard about it through the grapevine. And I want them to be supportive. I want them to be knowledgeable and understanding of what is going on, because they're busy and they don't have time to do a lot of research. And if it was the same thing with me, people would hand stuff to me. I'd have all sorts of information cross my desk all the time. And I never gave it much notice at all, because we're busy and we're focused. But this is important. Like, this is important enough that I feel it's important to spread the word.
And the balance test is what caught your eye? Because I can
It's both
imagine
of them. Yeah.
I can imagine you see so many different products and your patients are talking about so many different
Yes.
products. Do the balance test really kind of let you sit up and
Yeah.
say, hey, what's this about?
Well, actually, it was the oil, because it caught my attention, because I already could identify that it was addressing some of the shortfalls that I had seen historically with the use of essential fatty acids in practice. And that was really what caught my attention, because like I said, the testing wasn't new to me, but it was really the whole package that really spoke to me. It was the simplicity, it was the completion, it was the pre-test followed by the 120-day follow-up, which, I mean, I have patients say to me all the time, "Oh, I fell off the track with everything but my oil, because it just arrives at my door every month, so I don't have to think about that one." So from a compliance perspective, it addresses that. So it's really just a matter of time. It's just really a matter of time. And then this will be standard of care, although I think it's just going to take some time. And this will happen from a grassroots perspective, which means everybody on this call, everybody who understands the value of the ability to do a blood spot test from your kitchen table, this is where the change will happen. It'll be a bottom-up approach as opposed to a top-down approach. And that also excites me.
You know, what I loved about your whole conversation that you've had here is you didn't make any health claims, which is wonderful. And just team, I just want to remind you, we just have to have conversations. We don't have to make any kind of health claims. The product will look after itself. But the science behind omega, taking omega threes, is you know, we have so many we have access to so much information now where you can just ask Grok or you can ask ChatGPT, why should I take an omega-3 supplement, and that's going to give you the answer. But you know, you've got a lot of people in your phone, Dr. Jackie, and people that you care about. How would you approach them about this topic?
I think a really good icebreaker is to say to somebody, if there was a test that existed that would tell you whether or not the supplements you're taking are working, would you be open to taking that test?
I love that. And I love you. Thank you. Any other closing thoughts before we let you go? Thank you. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this for us. It's just really a kind thing to do.
I am so passionate about being able to share this that I will take any opportunity I can to help make it something that does actually change the face of healthcare. Like this is that important. And if we can make a dent in world public health, then we'll have done our jobs.
I love it. Do you have a copy of your book in front of you there?
I do,
Hold it up.
right here.
All right, guys. I need you to go. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see it? There you go. Go
Yeah.
on Amazon and order that book there. And
Yeah.
Dr. Jackie, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I really appreciate you. And team, just have a wonderful day. There's a lot of people we care about, and we got to tell them this story because it's a critical story to be told. So thank you very much, team. I appreciate
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.